chose this poem because he says that back in 1988, during his time at the Scottish Poetry Library, he was reading Rilke and saw a version of this poem. And he showed it to Tessa because he knew she was a Rilke fan. And although she liked the version, she still wanted to make it her own. And so he says, I like to think that I was the link between this Rilke poem and Tessa. It's part of 8 Rilke lyrics translated. And this one is, Since Delight Has Winged You. Since delight has winged you over countless previous precipices, engineer bold bridges now, whose arch-defying geometries, not merely through endurance, freak survival of great danger, but in pure direct performance is the wonderment of wonder. It is no presumption to play a part in the complex, ceaseless weaving of life's patterning, ever more intricate. To be carried along is not enough. Let your practiced skills outreach until they join wide countries, for within the limits of human touch, the God discovers his mysteries. I think this next one is a really, really lovely poem, which is chosen by Elspeth Brown, who says, I've chosen this poem to remember or not from Tessa's collection A Good Cause, because I think it is a heartfelt poem and one with which I can identify. My own peaceful, intelligent father fought in the First World War. He found it hard to talk about it, and during all the year of remembrance, I had a reluctance to listen to the programmes and events concerning this war. I didn't really understand myself until I read this poem, and I must say it had a very similar effect on me. It's called To Remember or Not. Born into the start of the Second World War, I inherited unspeakable pain that lingered from the first. Those who died, those who were spared, those who continued bereaved, alone and bereft for the rest of their lives. Memorial events and religiousness I do not enjoy, for how can I ever forget what surrounded me? And how can I forget the nuclear weapons that lie behind the lie in acts of official mourning? My father's philosophy, Schweitzer's reverence for life. He would never hunt or shoot or even go fishing. He who had served as a sapper and RE signals officer throughout those 4 insanely slaughterous years. He loved life, was a graceful dancer and witty charmer. He courted my mother for 7 difficult years, while she grieved her beloved brother and lost her youth. Yet together they cared for others in faith and love. I don't need to keep on remembering that pain and clenching sorrow. What I want is to stop the trade in war and armaments that is still pursued across the world and sheds more and more unspeakable pain through the generations. How can we say we remember and yet do this?
This one is from Alan Gay, and it's lovely to see some of the contributors here today. He wrote, I was deeply touched by your invitation to send a favourite poem of Tessa's. The poem I have chosen is The Last Armistice Day of the Century. Of course, I could have chosen many others, especially from her Indian ones, but this poem has a particular significance for both Tessa and myself that she will recognise. Last Armistice Day of the Century for William Godfrey Walford, killed November the 4th, 1918, aged 22, after 4 years in the war, 1914-1918. Who shall be your rememberer, now my mother is dead? She who adored you so briefly and yet for so long. In 96 years she never forgot you and kept your photograph beside her and within her head. You were someone we knew, and yet we never knew. The almost haloed one, the hero who died, whose beauty emerges here and there in us, and yet the one we sense we lacked and missed somehow. I feel my mother's pain as I did then when as a child I heard her describe the things you used to say and how peace brought the worst news in the world. Too late the 11th hour for her, when you were killed. Now I am left alone as guardian of your presence. When I am gone, there will be none to maintain our loss. Yet as my mother's love is absorbed in me, her sorrow will form a lasting inheritance. The penultimate poem was chosen by Hazel B. Cameron and touches on both Tessa's faith and her political activism. Tessa believes in the power of poetry to transform, elevate and enchant, and we think her friend's choices reinforce a rare ability to do that. Had they but deigned. And this is taken from a quote in the Exeter book, Cathedral Library, Exeter. Had they, Adam and Eve, but deigned to keep the word of the Holy One bright in their breasts. Had they but deigned, Adam and Eve, what common weal might have sustained life on earth? What blood unshed, the tooth, the eye, the claw, the red? Pride might have died, with losing face, with shame, disgrace. That bright word, had it been nursed, might have restrained the jealous brother, saved us from our meat-making slaughter, taught us that humans, in their true nature, work together. Snake's connivance, then unneeded, a search for wisdom would have tempted within the precincts of holy earth. Men and women might have retained that word in their breasts, illumined love, had they but deigned, Adam and Eve. I'm going to finish with a beautiful poem chosen by Tessa herself. It's called A Reed Shaken with the Wind, Luke 7:24. O reeds, how you quiver and quake in the wind, how you swoop and sway and speak with the wind. Buffeted, bent, you do not break in the gales and gusts and sands and storms. You raise your heads by the blue lagoons, your delicate golden fronds uplift when the storms have passed with almighty sweep. With each single reed is a spectacle, a miracle to behold and hear as it sings and laments through the sear, the stem resilient, unbroken, moved by the spirit, anima mundi. The reeds have spoken.
And of course WordPower, who's doing this. But Tessa sent me an email that wasn't sent to Chris, to say, to be sure, we thanked Chris, particularly because she's organised this, she's put all this together, and she wanted to thank Chris, and I'd like to join my thanks as well for gathering all these poems together and for so skillfully weaving this tribute to Tessa. Thank you, Chris.
Typically generous thought, is it not, of Tessa's? Well, we get to the bit where we say our books are on sale in the bookshop. Various books by all of us, including A Good Cause by Tessa, Tessa's penultimate collection. Pauline has been reading from her forthcoming collection, and Storm Biscuits is on sale. My book, Dancing on a Rock, my latest, is also on sale. So remains for me to say thank you all so much for coming, and maybe some of you might deign to join us all for a drink in the pear tree across the road. It's a thought. Thank you all so much. Thank you.